Yeah.
Hello and welcome to this buildingSMART room session as part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit, Montreal 2022. Thank you for joining. My name is Sheila Karai-Lum and I will be your moderator today. Today's session is titled Regulatory Room Roadmap and Regulatory Information Requirements Project Summary. Our speakers are Nick Nisbet from AEC3 Limited and also Vice Chair of the UK and Ireland chapter. We also have Tomi, who is CIO at Gravicon, and we also have Franco, who is Digital Project Manager at buildingSMART Italy. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes with a short Q&A at the end. The session is pre-recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For the online attendees, your microphones will remain muted. If you wish to ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. For those in the room, please try to keep background noise to a minimum and use one of the available microphones when speaking. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider and are open, non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct, which is up on the screen in a moment. There it is. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Nick.
Okay, thanks for coming in for our final session. The title says that we'll talk about the roadmap and the regulatory information requirements project. We should also have included in the title an update on our project to develop guidance for regulators on Open BIM, which we didn't have a full session on because we've only just started, to be honest. But I think it's an exciting thing. I'll just say a few words about what's happened in the summit over the last 2 days. We had a really good session about the roadmap and what the regulatory room can be doing or should be doing. And I think we will have a final version of the roadmap fairly soon now. And the big difference between the roadmap that we've developed this time and the one we had 4 or 5 years ago is this one's got dates on it. Whether we meet those dates depends on you as much as anything. And then we've also had a session on the regulatory information requirements project. And I've also been to the airport room and also to the building room to talk about fire strategy and how it relates to that project. And I think there is a really good base summary assumption, a good the move towards making BIM a significant part of the regulatory process, making BIM part of the how we interface with regulators, society, expectations, and so on. It's really being well accepted. When I was in the fire safety project, their main focus is on simulation. And we had quite a good discussion about how simulation and regulation can work together. And my example was from energy management, energy regulation. But I think we can use those ideas to say that they're both important. In some countries, you have alternative means of compliance. You can either comply with a specific regulation, or you can show a simulation that shows that the building is energy efficient or safe or whatever it happens to be. I should also mention, or I haven't yet seen, but there were 2 presentations from Canadian cities, Quebec and Oakville, and no doubt I'll need to find out where Oakville is. But they presented in the main stage for the Canadian National Conference on the steps they were taking for digital compliance processes. So that said, I think that's the overview. We've also had a lot of coffee and a lot of fun. And what I'd like now to do is well, first of all, I think we'll ask Tomi to sum up his takeaways from the sessions we've had so far, and then we'll ask Franco to bring us up to date with the guidance project.
Yes. To start with, I think we had a very good sessions, like Nick said, and the idea for this time around. Let's go back a little bit in the history. We have had several summits, virtual summits. Also before that, some face-to-face or physical summits. Where we have been more or less kind of presenting different projects, or we have been seeing presentations of different projects. But so this time the idea was to put our hands on the projects, and since we are together working now, of course, not everybody is in Montreal, but nevertheless we had like a place where we can put our minds together. Then I thought it would be a good idea to really have like an old-fashioned workshop, and maybe it would, yeah, of course it would be better that if we are sitting all in one room, and it's more like a physical workshop, but I think that this was a good exercise, and we, especially with the roadmap, we had really good input. It's we got kind of so now, like Nick said, it's now it's more like tidying up the ideas and the project concepts that we discovered here this year, or this autumn, now in this summit. And yeah, I'm quite confident that I can now finalize the roadmap. Of course, the challenge will be the dates, and like trying to how can we try to limit the projects. It's always quite easy to specify really huge projects, but the huge projects are dangerous because they kind of become impossible in many ways. So that's the challenge, that how can we put kind of limits, and how can we specify projects that we can deliver, and at the same time that are beneficial for our audience, the regulators, and also they are kind of the deliveries are useful for the end users. So that will be a challenge, but I think that we got really good input from the sessions that we had for the roadmap, and it's really good platform to continue the work. Then today we had again a couple of hybrid workshops, where we saw first we saw the presentation from the German approach for BIM-based building permits, and then I introduced maybe more in-depth ideas of how, what kind of approach and what are the concepts behind the regulatory information requirements project. In the first session, I tried to keep it bit in conceptual level, but in the second session, we kind of went to the deep end of the pool, so to speak, and it was rather technical. But to be honest, we are building smart. We are technical guys. We are the ones that, like Nick pointed out, that we are the ones who solve the technical issues so that rest of the world doesn't have to be so technical. So I guess that today's workshop was more like trying to be kind of educational in the sense that introducing the challenges, also the ideas behind the development that we are doing, and also introducing the work that has been already done in the project. So maybe that's a short summary of the things that we've been doing in these two topics during these 2 days.
Can I ask something?
Of course.
Has the roadmap already been presented? Have I missed something?
Yes,
Okay.
we presented both the old roadmap and the key diagram in it, and the new one, and Tomi was updating it as we spoke,
Okay.
and so on. Perhaps we'll get an overview. We'll include Franco with an update, and then we can go back and talk about any of the topics we want to. And we can get the relevant slide up on the screen.
Yep. Yeah. I'm happy to show the slides, even though it's a work in progress, but still.
Yeah. So let's get the up. Oh yes, of course.
In which session was the presentation of the German?
It was this morning at the start of the regulatory information requirement. So 9 o'clock. We had a few technical problems, so he probably kicked off at about 9:20.
Yeah, but
and it mostly was recorded, but there were a few technical problems. But the slide stack is
we'll make that available.
Yeah. I think the key thing is that there's an individual at the University of the RIR, I think it was, who is supporting the German chapter in this work. So, yeah. Okay. Let's switch over to Franco for an update on the guidance project.
Something strange happened.
Here we go.
Oh, hang on, Franco, we're not hearing you yet.
Franco, wait, just one moment.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. I'm very sad not to be there, but you've been lucky because I'm also COVID positive. So in this case, it's better if I stay a little bit far away. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the last project that's been approved for the regulatory room activities. That is the guidance for regulators on using OpenBIM. That is a document, or not a document, it's a process, a project that will produce a document that will provide a clear narrative text answering the major questions. But maybe more important is the capability of collect examples, videos, and illustration from around the world, and the idea in how to use OpenBIM in a regulated environment, focusing on regulators' needs, focusing on regulators' activities, focusing on regulators' worries. What we talk about of course, the contents will be a classical contents of a guideline. We will talk about benefits of what OpenBIM can do for regulators, and it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that can be done. What are the steps that has to be run to reach a use of OpenBeam in the regulatory environment? And practicability. This is a question that has raised up strongly, hardly during the questionnaire that we launched in a couple of years ago, and there is some kind of worries about the practicability of a path, a process that will bring this the use of OpenBeam in a short time, or in a reasonable time, for digital building permitting, and other than what Tomi can tell us about his very, very strong experience about, we think that we need a kind of a way of discussing about this around the world. The project started a couple of months ago. We are already 25 members. We have a lot of lawyers. It's a very mixed up attendance. We have technical people, we have people from the business, we have people from the software, we have lawyers, and we have also we are also very close to regulators and politicians. So it's very, very interesting in terms of the way we are going to discuss. But of course, the participation is still open. So if anybody is interested in, please send a message to our email address, regulatory@buildingSMART.org, for supporting us and to be involved in. We are in this moment. The plan is still we are still collecting contents. Very interesting phase, this one, because we are discovering very interesting stuff, like that language is a very big problem for example, in a country like Swiss, where they have to write everything in different languages, and this means that also the standard, on the other side, is giving us some answers about the need of a strong standard to work in these teams on these activities. Just to give you some highlights of what is rising up from the. I will just close this short presentation with some highlights, because I think that in Rome we will have the chance to discuss in person, in a good way, for a long time, about what is rising up from this project. Some of the questions, what we are collecting at the moment, are mostly questions. Questions like who is pushing for the adoption of OpenBeam in institutions? That is something that it looks easy, but it's not so easy, because in different countries you have somewhere the business is pushing, somewhere the regulators are pushing, somewhere there are some kind of business that are pushing the adoption. There is also what is the difference, what is nation specific, and what global shareable practice, or what in the practice in the need is global, and what is national. RIR project is teaching a lot of stuff in the technical layer of this activity, and so it's giving us very good indications of what is needed at a global side, but also in terms of how to manage the processes. Very interesting to discover what's going on and what can be shared from country to country, and also what can be shared from country and and local jurisdictions. That is another big theme in this process that we are discussing. Of course, we talk about technology, which kind of technology, not which kind, but how deep will we use the OpenBeam technology in this process at the beginning, in the mid side. So a lot of interesting stuff. Please join us. Please follow us. I think is a good job. It's something interesting. I think it could be also useful. And okay, if you have questions, I'm here.
Yeah, that's I mean that's really good. I think the idea of issuing guidance, I've mentioned it a few times over the last 2 days, and I've always explained it that it's very difficult to get regulators to come to meetings, and I've been consistently proved wrong. We've had 2 Canadian regulators speaking in the main hall. We've had a regulator from the Netherlands in this room. We have RR8 from the regulators in Norway. It's not entirely true that they didn't come to meetings, but I still think it's a good strategy. That we should have something to get even to give them to circulate internally and so on. I should mention that the project proposal, which we made after the summit in March and the elections, that expanded our steering committee. The proposal that we put together has gone up to the buildingSMART Standards Committee, and it's been approved. I don't think there was much doubt about it because it very much fits into what buildingSMART as a whole is trying to do. But we now have an official project to press on with. And the other thing that means is that when we do deliver, our deliverables will be submitted to the Standards Committee, and they'll be reviewed and checked that they meet the expectations of buildingSMART in terms of message and of presentation and so on. And I think, having come back from some other rooms where they didn't realize that the Standards Committee has that oversight rule, I think, it's really important as we talk to people that they know that there is a process, that this isn't a free-for-all, it isn't an independent movement. We are very much part of the buildingSMART process. The other piece of news, which isn't quite news yet, but I'm pretty excited about it, is that in the next few weeks in Finland, IFC will become mandatory for children under it will become mandatory for building approvals, so for some kinds of building approvals, and I think that's significant. A few months ago, a small town in Finland with a name that is definitely Finnish and beyond me to pronounce, claimed to have done the first building approval based on an IFC model. I think Singapore might have a claim that they did that 20 years ago, but it's certainly the first one for a while. And I think, as we press on.
Just a comment. We did it 2-3 years ago in Norway.
Really?
Yeah.
But you didn't tell anyone?
No! What's interesting to do actually is to challenge Tomi and me to compare, for example, the 2 implementation we have in Finland and Norway. Are we thinking in the same direction? Is there anything else out there?
I think the guidance document is a really good forum if we can use that, because that's what other regulators will find interesting, is to see what the 2 or 3 or 4 leading implementations have in common and where they've been flexible and done different things. So I think there's a good forum there, and I hope people.
That will be interesting because this system has been out there for now 3 years. There is no success. There's no interest. So it's there.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah. People don't trust it. People want to use PDF and paper and go to the municipality. This question, and the municipality like to have it the old-fashioned way.
Well. Yeah, I mean, we're conscious that we're advocating a change. Um, uh, when a few years ago, Tamir El-Dirabi did a report on the social network of value, social value network of regulatory change, and saying that the there are several parties involved, and we've got to make sure that it's in the interest of everyone. And if there's a process that offers faster or more accurate or um, more or clearer results, then maybe people will be interested. When it's just, well, you can do it, but it doesn't make any difference to how long it takes. It doesn't make any difference to what it costs. It doesn't make any difference to.
Why help if Finland is willing to force this?
Well,
I don't know what's in the regulation about demanding IFC. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Tomi, is there anything you can say about the rest of the clause? It says IFC is compulsory. There must be more to it than that.
Yes. Well, something which is also what has happened. It might sound like a detail, but also the National Archives in Finland has appointed IFC as an official archiving format, and that is connected to the building permit process in general, since all the material in building permits will be at some point of its life cycle, it will be archived. And so that was kind of one of the key things in order to get the IFC as an official archiving format. Then that was kind of also made kind of possible that IFC can be mandatory format for building permits. It's a good question that what will the authorities do with IFC in the process. The law itself does not specify it. It just says that the projects need to deliver a BIM model in open format, but then it's up to the local authorities to decide what they will do with it. Well, the local authorities are quite interested in this, and there is, for example, a project run by 23 biggest cities here in Finland, and they are developing all kinds of specifications regarding the use of IFCs. And well, the topics sound pretty much the same as we have in regulatory information project. So the use cases that have been specified in with these among these cities, it's more or less the same list of use cases that we have in the regulatory information requirements project, and I think that it's a good sign that we as a regulatory room, when we were thinking about these use cases, we kind of hit the right target in a way, because we are kind of answering to the questions that the cities and the municipalities, the authorities have in their daily life. So checking of escape routes, checking of fire safety, and stuff like that. The use cases which we introduced also today in the sessions. So that's kind of a visual thing that you can see from the process. But then it's also like we have in previously identified that building permitting is not like just one moment in time. It is actually a process with several steps, and this is of course the same here in Finland. And the IFC will be delivered. The IFCs they will be delivered to the authorities at least in 2 stages. It could be even more stages if there are significant changes to the design during the construction for some reason. But the big change here, I know that elsewhere this has been already like daily routine with drawings and other documents, but here in Finland, the new thing is that now also the material needs to be delivered to the authorities in the handover. So before you can get the permit for occupancy, you need to deliver the digital material, and the digital material means the IFC models. There is the architectural model is basically the main model, but then in the actual building permit, the authority specifies what other models they need. So if it's like, let's say it's a normal apartment house, so typically they would need a structural model, the MEP model, electrical model, and so on. So the main domain models will be delivered. Plus all the information about the products and materials that have been used in the building, and not just as a list, but the goal is to have that we actually know that where the material has been used in the building. So we know that where this toilet seat is, we know where this wood material is, and where this glue is. And that will be the tricky one. It's because those are kind of materials that are not necessarily presented in the model, in the IFC model, but still we need to know where they are in the model. So there's some things that we need to still solve. This will support many things. And if you ask, depending on who you ask, it will be useful or it will not be very useful. But the main thing is that here in Europe, one of the big things is the CO2 and carbon footprint evaluation and calculation. And so the idea is that at the handover phase, the CO2, the carbon footprint of the embedded carbon can be calculated using the IFC model and the product and material information provided with it. So it's pretty big thing, and that could be maybe doable, but all this has to happen 1st of January 2024. So
we'll be ready by then. Yeah. So I mean, yes. We had a colleague from France who was encouraging us to have a carbon regulation project based on the European standards, which he claimed that France has already implemented, and the rest of Europe will follow. And so I think that's on our roadmap to say that it would be nice to try and do that if we can strike the balance between the international question of which is buildingSMART's focus and the particular implementation within Europe. So that was one thing that it was good to hear there was real interest. It confirmed some things in, I think. I think Oyvind, having spoken up, we need him to share his information requirements documents so that we can take the Norwegian attributes into account in our work. And we also need him to tell us more about what he's been doing for 3 years and not telling us, so that we can contribute to the guidance document.
I'm not into this, so yeah.
He's welcome.
There is an XML.
Okay, well, I think
you read machine code, so you can read the XML quite quick and fast.
I can read DXF files. I can listen to a electrostatic pen plotter working and tell you what it's drawing. So I have many skills that are now obsolete. Yes, so we are wanting to draw people in to both our current projects now, to get the principles into the guidance and the detail into the regulatory information requirements. Does that provoke any other questions from people?
Well, I think just this is really a bit out of scope, but when you're talking about this, the possibility to satisfy additional requirements for the permitting process, it seems a little bit dangerous to me to focus on that part, because that would make anybody enthusiastic about it. It provides more work for everyone, actually. Even if it's it's a fact, and legislation is a tough driver to improve things. I think we're working with the guidance. We should take into account what was said yesterday from the city of Calgary. They have the idea of a more dynamic process. That's the main reason for them going digital. They can have early submissions, discuss things with the applicant long before, and also have, of course, automatic checks long before the permit is actually decided on. I think it would be important to have that kind of focus in the guidance. The benefit to applicants and to everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, that was very much at the heart of what they tried to do in Singapore, which was ambitious. When two-way dialogue it was very difficult to support two-way dialogues using the internet as it was being invented. And so, and I'd really like to, I haven't yet seen those presentations from the main hall. But yes, I think it can be a different relationship. And in the UK, we're starting to introduce the idea of a license to occupy on residential buildings, and that may be renewable every 5 years. And so how much we regulate and when we regulate is quite dynamic. But anything that makes it a smoother process is going to be attractive to people. And yeah, if you just say you can do IFC, but it doesn't make any difference to any other factors, then it's going to be a slow take-up. There has to be some kind of offer in there of better interaction or faster process or something that says there's benefits for everyone in adopting this.
Well, one thing that at least this is one of my goals, or let's say one of my very important goals, is that I'm not planning to make the regulators BIM specialists. That is if the regulators and the building controllers, if they need to learn BIM skills and be like BIM specialists, then we have failed. We have failed in these goals. My goal is to harmonize the information and the models in such way that the information gathering from the models can be automated, so that the kind of the minimum amount of the, let's say that, because we have different levels, of course. We have the law says something, so that's something, that's the minimum requirement, the legislation, and then we have like additional requirements set by the local authorities, and then we could have even higher demands based on the project. So the minimum requirements should be delivered and received automatically, so that the models don't have to be opened at all. And that's kind of so that in basis, like a basic level, the regulators, they just do their work and they just utilize the information which that the IFC models provide them. Maybe in the highest level, when there is a kind of complex project, then the BIM, the IFC model or models, they provide information which could be really difficult to get without the models. So I think that the all the time we have to kind of keep in mind that IFC should, or the BIM in general, it should help the regulators, not make their lives more difficult.
That's good. Any other comments? Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, just a comment. One of the things we have struggled with the BIM implementation for many years is that in the building permit, normally if you have a map or PDF, you deliver the drawings and you deliver the map where this of the site. If you send in a BIM model, you need to send the BIM model and the site included in that model.
Or you can take it from the digital twin that you already have and put it into the surrounding environment.
Yeah, but then the digital twin, it's no problem to put it in a map and have it sent to the model. That is not the problem here. The problem is that the reason why we do this, because one of the most trouble they have in the process is that the applicant deliver the application to the municipality and have it back because of lack of information. And most of that information is within the drawings, because we for many years have solved electronically that we can check the rest of it. But what the information that's additional is in the drawing and in the map, it's not possible to check in the PDF. So that's the reason why we started with the BIM journey 20 years ago or something. But what we asked for extension from BIM for GIS already in 2006. It was not implemented in 2x3. It has a part and 2x4. The 2x4, not IFC4, is not fully implemented by the software vendors. So the information we need to calculate the height of the building and all the parameters you need, it's not possible to do. So they have made some add-ons and some you have to print it in manually in the software, the BIM authoring tools. And this information is not either stored it's not that easy to just take the geospatial map.
Well,
Calculate height.
I think
Because you need exact the way this was solved in IFC, and I'm not, I guess it's the same way now in BIM, is that this information is stored outside the building in the IFC file, not inside of it. That is the way it was solved.
We have a GIS reference point with actual coordinates that gives you the exact location and the direction of the building, and that places it on the right place in the map.
That's a kind of technical detail, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is a technical detail, and I think I've sat in.
Have an answer to that.
Well,
the information you need in the building purpose process is more accurate than you traditionally have in a digital twin of the building. You need to be able to measure it exactly, and this is also happening, and this information will need to be there. So it's not precise enough. It's not accepted.
I've sat in too many meetings at buildingSMART summits where geolocation has been discussed, and it's been solved too many times, and if it's still not right, then I think we have to really question our processes, because there was detailed studies done about what was required for IFC4. The implementation of that was then converted downwards to 2x3 as a set of property sets, which you could use so as to bridge the time gap. And the infrastructure people who have a different idea about geospatial location and all the complexities that come with things that are longer than a kilometer, they've all signed off on what we're doing. So I really hope that it's not as bad as you say, Øyvind.
No, but this is the experience. Those people who work on this in Norway say that they have given up to have this implemented by the software. So there is no process going on.
Well,
I think that I think that we can spend several days discussing about this topic. I have a solution for this. Let's just decide that Mother Earth is flat, and not only flat but rectangular.
I think you can get some support here in US.
Okay.
But that's just a note that we need to address that if it's still, and as we know, it's not working perfectly. So yeah, we need to bring that to attention of the technical room.
I think there is a really proper solution which kind of works. It's just kind of difficult to set it up properly from the authoring tools, which isn't always going right. But we can use it, we can check it, and if you can give feedback to the people, I think there's also a part of education for the people how to set it up properly. Like you said, we are calculating the height, putting it on the right spot, using the standard. What I see is that it depends on the authoring tool, how it exactly works, and then it goes wrong. I think there's a lot of trouble over there.
But could it be possible to make a receipt? This is the way it should be done.
I think it is already somewhere, but what I also see is that's what I like. We've been discussing with the IDS now and stuff. Now you have a document which clearly explains how you should do it, but then people it's also a bit complicated and it's different in every application. And so we've been doing the solution where the contractor can upload it himself, and he can right away see where it is, if it's in a good spot. With the IDS, you can check, is it properly set up? So they get direct feedback, not just a document which they have to interpret by themselves. And I think that helps a lot if they can just test it themselves. And I know it's not okay. Let's try again. And I've had multiple moments also in the Netherlands for contractors who thought they were doing it right. They put it in, it wasn't right. Then they played around a bit, and now it is right. So I think by giving this direct feedback automatically, really simple, I think that really helps. Because
that is the main idea. But is it possible that IDS can be, we have been using the XML, is IDS and the tool? Is IDS, yeah?
Better than MVD.
I think it's slightly different because MVD, I think, is from the sender side, where IDS is from the receiving end. So you can, as a government, you can say these are the BIM requirements, and we don't just give a document, we also give you a link. Here you can test it.
Yeah, but that is actually what we're doing in the MVD.
Yes, I think the point about IDS is that it is much simpler to implement. You can have a much simpler interface. I mean, there was an example on LinkedIn this morning, someone just showing a single clause from IDS, just in a report, saying you can read it, you can understand it, and that there'll be more implementations using it because it's very accessible. And so on. And I think the process of getting used to this geolocation problem, it's not part of many architects' training to even realize that the world is curved. And so they usually rely on a surveyor on day one of the construction process to actually figure out the site layout and so on. And yes, we need to think about getting it right earlier on, and we need to use the many guidance documents that have been produced within buildingSMART about geolocation, some of which I've contributed to, some of which I've tested. So, yes, we need to make sure it works. I think people are making sure it works, so that's good. I think just want to say a few things by way of wrapping up a bit. I think it's amazing the progress that the regulatory room has made in getting organized and getting more and more done, and that's really exciting. I think it's amazing the impact that we're having on the rest of the buildingSMART community, because they know what we're doing is important, and that's exciting. I think it's amazing that over the last 2 days we've got some really interesting results and progress, and Tomi and I have only quarreled about one thing, which is about average for making progress. Tomorrow at the plenary I will present this update, because I think the rest of the buildingSMART community should be aware of the projects we're doing and how well it's going. The other thing is that, as I think Tomi mentioned, when we go to Rome in March, I think we would like, that's from Monday the 27th to Thursday the 30th of March. I hope that the regulatory community will stay on for an extra day for the Friday, and really do some hard-working workshops to get both projects advancing rapidly. So in return, I will buy the beers on Friday evening. And so on.
Another beers, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, I think it feels like Rome is going to be a good chance for the community to come together. Whether we still need to do virtual conferencing, we'll see. But I think, the more of us that get together, the more fun we can have. I think there's some nice bits of news to talk about as well. I also really want to thank everyone involved who's come along the last couple of days, and the steering committee, and our presenters, Franco and Tomi. And I want to thank Sheila for braving technology that I don't understand. And she's mastered it and kept us going against incredible odds and incredible gremlins. I think we can look forward to another very good 6 months. And thank you for your interest. I think that's where we can finish, unless anyone's got any other. If anyone wants to disagree. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick, I will save the PowerPoints that I have that I've been working with these 2 days. I will save them to Box.
Okay, good.
So you can pick them up from there for your tomorrow's.
And Franco, I apologize, we didn't use your slides in the end.
No problem.
Today, and
I will use them in Rome during with a bottle of wine on the table.
That's the plan.
How to do that.
The timetable here is that we can now put our heads under a pillow in a darkened room for a few hours, and then is it 7 o'clock for dinner?
6:30.
6:30 drinks. Yeah. So we will, and there'll be an award ceremony. So we'll be doing that.
Okay.
So thank you.
Fun.
Have fun.